Hey everybody, this is Matt and we're at Texas Toast Guitars. Thanks for watching. So I'm here in the shop today, sitting in front of my beloved pin router. I've got one of my very favorite Challenger Model 1s in my lap here. And we've got big news coming in the next couple of weeks about the Challenger Model 1 and some cool stuff that I know you guys want to get in on and want to take advantage of. But today I want to do a video where we talk about the differences between my pin router and not just my CNC machine, but CNC machines in general. I've been getting a lot of questions about what's the difference between pin routing and inverted pin routing and CNCs and this, that, and the other. So I thought I wanted to do a quick video about what it is about this machine that I think is so special. So no one is a bigger proponent of the pin router than I am. And if you've been watching my channel for any amount of time, I think you know that. The pin router to me represents another time in guitar making history where this was the sort of the pinnacle of machining. If you watch that Grover Jackson video, he talks about, well, we got a couple pin routers and we were ready to start manufacturing. Because that's kind of the way it was well into the 80s. This industrial tool behind me was then and is now the workhorse for shops like mine. And I consider myself to be of a similar size to what, don't take this the wrong way, but Grover Jackson back in the early 80s was doing a lot of the same kind of stuff that we were doing, different shapes than what we were doing and way more trims than we're doing, but that was because that was a different time in history. And I don't consider myself to be the same as Grover Jackson or Wayne Charvel, but you get the point. In any case, so the pin router versus the CNC is something that comes up a lot now. And as I told you guys, I'm probably the biggest proponent of pin routers in guitar making, and I'm probably one of the more vocal opponents of CNC machines. And I have had to eat a lot of crow on that because when I first started doing this, I wanted to do everything old school, and I eschewed the CNC machine. And I'm old, so I said stuff like, these young kids get this CNC machine, they automatically think they're guitar builders. I have acquiesced quite a lot, actually, and I even own a CNC machine now. It is not the same level of industrial tool that my jet pin router is, but it works perfect for what we use it for, which is mostly small things like inlay and stuff like that. But I tell you what, I hate inlay so much that the CNC machine has been absolutely a godsend. What I can tell you is that I have acquiesced a lot with CNC machines, and I have really grasped onto the CNC machine as a guitar building tool. And right now I've come to the conclusion where I am now in my mellowed age is that the CNC machine is a tool. And I know what you're thinking, well, duh, man, it's a tool. Yeah, but there was a time when I thought it was a satanic instrument that hipsters used to build guitars with. And I'm not saying that it's not that still. But what I am saying is that it's a tool just like a pin router is just a tool, just like a hand plane is a tool. And you get guys who are my age and they say, CNC machine, that's cheating. Well, back in the day when I was the young guy, there were probably guys who said, pin router, that's cheating. I remember talking with one of the old-timer guys, and he was like, well, I know how to use hand tools, and you don't. Well, that's not entirely true. I know how to use hand tools, but I don't use them to the extent that the old guys did. So I would imagine that I was the whippersnapper back in the day, and people who don't like pin routers, man, they must really hate CNC machines. In any case. So let's talk about some of the advantages to pin routing and some of the advantages to CNC machines. And I'm not going to try to discourage you from buying either one. or I'm not going to try to discourage you from buying neither one. But I think that the ability to use a CNC machine, to use a pin router, and to use a hand plane or a chisel is something that every guitar player, every guitar builder probably ought to know how to do, okay? So let's talk about some of the obvious things. First of all, my CNC machine that I have is not an industrial tool. It is what I would consider to be on the higher end of a hobby CNC machine. I would not use it to build, you know, lots and lots of guitars because it's just not up to the challenge. It's great for inlay and stuff, but in terms of what it can do, my pin router is actually quite a bit faster than my CNC machine. What I mean by that is my pin router is a full-on industrial tool, and it's designed to run 8, 10, 12 hours a day, and you grease it and it just keeps going. It's an industrial tool. I would take the John Henry challenge against me and my pin router versus Chris and our CNC machine, and I would win 10 times out of 10 in terms of speed. Now, where you start to see a slowdown in the CNC machine, or I'm sorry, in the pin router versus CNC machine is, of course, the pin router has to have an operator who is actively doing something. You have to actively manipulate the piece. Now, that is not to say that I'm not fascinated by the CNC machine, and as a CNC operator, I like to push the button and go, whoa, cool, and watch it go around. But you don't need to do that. You should be able to step away and let that tool do some things while you do something else. And if you think about it like that, it's sort of like hiring a person who never takes time off, never is sick, and always does the same job over and over and over again and never complains. Never asks for a raise. But the pin router is, my pin router, like I said, is definitely faster than my CNC machine. For guitar building, it's not faster for doing the things that the CNC is ideal for, but I digress. If you look at, say, Steve from Maximum Guitar Works, great big Haas CNC machine that costs as much as my house, yeah, it is every bit as fast as a skilled pin router operator and an industrial pin router. One of the advantages that the CNC machine has, that style of the big CNC machine over my pin router is again, it doesn't ever take time off from work. It never calls in sick. It always does the same thing. It doesn't complain. They do ask for raises. The software company is constantly updating, and you need to keep paying for that stuff. But that machine can run all the time, and it can spit out. It can crank out bodies like this strap body. Here, this is one. Hold on, I gotta balance what I'm doing here. This strap body came off of Steve's CNC machine, and it's pretty excellent. But yeah, okay. So whoa, man, I'm getting way ahead of myself here. But like I say, I still prefer the old school tools, and that's kind of where I live. One of the things that the CNC offers that is a significant advantage is in terms of safety, because the operator is behind a closed door, a closed bulletproof Lexan. If something were to happen and fling the piece, or the bit breaks and flings something, the operator is quite a bit safer than the operator of a pin router. Now, I've been using pin routers for over a decade, and I have had some close calls with them. I'm not going to lie to you guys. When you do something wrong, the pin router will remind you you're doing it wrong right away, and she'll slap you back. So safety is something that the pin router has not quite enough of sometimes, and the CNC machine has more of. Finally, the last thing that I think the CNC machine has over, say, my pin router, we're going to talk about this more, is dust and debris collection. So because everything is inside of an enclosed environment, it all stays in there, and it doesn't go all over the shop. People have asked me before, why don't you have dust collection on your pin router? Well, because as you're manipulating this piece around, sometimes debris flies this way, and sometimes it flies this way, and sometimes this way, and sometimes up and down and over and back around again. There's really no good way to, unless I had so much vacuum going behind it that it was pulling my hair into the machine, which would also be unsafe. You get the idea. It would be moving my shirt, and it would have to have so much vacuum to collect it all. And even if it was coming from the top, this machine came with a vacuum attachment, and it works okay, but not to the degree that if everything were enclosed, you could just easily vacuum it up like on a CNC machine. Now let's talk a little bit about some of the advantages that the pin router has over the CNC machine. For one thing, the pin router is excellent at tracing a template. So if you have 100 templates and you want to make 100 guitars that are each different from the next, the pin router is the tool to use, because the CNC machine, really, its specialty is making the same thing over and over and over again. Whereas my pin router is good at following templates. So if my template is for a Challenger, or if my template is for a Strat, a Strat. I can see it in the camera, but I can't. So if your template is for a Strat one time, and for a Challenger the next time, and a Flying V the next time, pin router excels at following templates. Whereas if you have a CNC machine, you have to program in specifically each thing and do it. If you want to make 100 of the same thing, the CNC machine is great. If you want to make 100 different things, then the pin router is terrific. If you want to fine-tune cuts, the CNC machine is great. There's no programming. It's the skill of the operator that goes into. I'm not saying that a programmer isn't a skilled operator, but the skill of the technician, the carpenter using the pin router is really the thing that separates the pin router from the CNC machine, because the CNC computer, the computer doesn't think; it just does what it's told, which is totally cool. But the operator of the tech working the pin router can go, I need to stop this, or I need to, I can hear the wood talking to me. I can slow down in this area, or I can speed up in this area, or I need to do something different. The CNC machine will, it doesn't have, it's not a sentient being. It is a computer. So again, it is designed to do something over and over and over again. And sometimes woods don't like to cooperate because they're not 100% homogeneous, like say metals can be. Anyway, so that's an area where the pin router really excels. Because the template is on the bottom of a traditional pin router, you can do things that you can't do with a regular router. For example, when you're cutting, this doesn't have humbuckers, but imagine if it did. Here's one. These plates on the back, we can stack templates, and we can do the outline for the control cavity cover, and we can raise and lower our pin and do the control cavity without moving anything. So if you get good at using a pin router, you can kind of learn some neat stuff that maybe some of the guys back in the old days did. You can angle the piece differently on a pin router. So in other words, the piece isn't locked in. You could, because you're holding it, for example, our headstock angle. We do that on a specialty jig, and we send it through the bottom of the router. And because you're holding it by your hand, you aren't having to make a special jig to hold the neck down at an angle and put it in exactly the same way every time. The pin router is terrific at doing that. Some of that, again, is just the way that people work the machine, and some of it is the way that I do it, and some of it is because a small CNC machine just frankly isn't big enough to kind of freestyle like that, if you will. Speaking of freestyling, that's another advantage of the pin router over the CNC machine. I firmly believe that doing cuts, I need to make this one slightly deeper. You don't need to go in and program everything. You just turn the crank and run it through again. So if you're doing stuff like that, then the pin router is great. Can you imagine that having a pin router and a CNC machine, it might be a good thing? I have had to, guys, like I said, I've had to begrudgingly accept that, and the more that I do, the better my guitars are. So buy whichever one you want. If someone were to come to me and say, hey Matt, should I buy a pin router right away? No, I really don't think you should. I think you should invest in a good router and a good router table and a good bandsaw first. But if you like making guitars, a pin router will absolutely make your life easier. If someone were to say to me, should I buy a CNC right away? I would say no. You should do exactly the same thing. You should buy a good router and a good router table and a bandsaw and learn to make guitars first. Then you will find that a CNC machine and or a pin router will just make your life easier, and you'll be able to make things faster, and your productivity will go up. But until you learn to make guitars, a pin router or a CNC machine isn't going to help you. It's just going to be this extra thing that you have. So, so I guess what this video is really all about is learn to build guitars first. And the more that you, and I don't believe that anybody starts their guitar building journey by spending $5,000 or add another zero or another 2 zeros to that to buy a CNC machine and then builds their first guitar. I don't believe that ever happens. You could probably make the case that somebody who just had access to a CNC machine built their first guitar, but I don't believe that anybody who's getting started building guitars needs to buy an industrial piece of equipment that is floor mounted and then starts their guitar building journey. I think that what you should do is, like I said, buy a good router, get a good router table, get a good bandsaw, get some other tools, and one thing is for sure, gang, once you start building guitars, you're gonna acquire tools, and lots of them. So don't be afraid of building your tool arsenal. And if you want to add a pin router to that arsenal, by all means. If you want to add a CNC machine, go for it. But anyway, I hope that this helps you guys out with some of the questions that you've had about CNC versus pin routing. I know that I am probably the last person that you would have ever thought you'd hear say, wow, CNC machines are great. But the fact is that they are. And I have one now, and you guys know that. It's no secret. I made a video where I came out and said, this is the video I never thought I'd have to make. And it was just me talking about, CNC and how we needed to have one. My pin routers aren't going anywhere. And if you want to come to a workshop, you'll get to use the pin routers, and you'll get to see the CNC in action too. You'll also get to do lots and lots of sanding, because no matter what, gang, whether you buy a pin router or a CNC machine, the thing you're still going to be doing the most of is sanding. So that's just sort of the lot in life of the guitar builder, I guess. So no big deal. We're going to be doing some sanding. So anyway, I hope this video finds you guys well. I hope you had a good time watching it, and I hope that you're still building guitars, whether you're using a CNC machine or you're gnashing at it with your teeth and making guitars that way. I don't care. I hope that you're having fun building guitars. If you liked this video, please give me the thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed yet, please hit that subscribe button. If you like the content that we make here, please consider joining us on Patreon or joining us on YouTube. If you don't want to, though, that's perfectly fine. Or if you can't, don't sweat it. But please share the video as many places as you could possibly think of, and help us grow our channel that way. We will see you in the next video. We've got a bunch more stuff coming. Like I said, gang, lots more stuff happening with the Challenger model, or level 1, 2, 3, and 4. So lots of good stuff coming from Texas Toast Guitars, featuring our Challengers. I think you guys are going to be super cool, super excited to see what we've got coming up. You're already super cool. All right, gang, this is Matt from Texas Toast, reminding you that if you're so smart, buy your own pin router, buy your own CNC machine, start your own YouTube channel, etc. That's all the stuff that I did. We'll see you guys next time. Have a great week, everybody.